We've grown comfortable delegating decisions to artificial intelligence. From medical diagnoses to financial recommendations to hiring decisions, we increasingly trust algorithms to do the thinking for us. But what happens when there's no human in the middle? What happens when we automate away human judgment entirely? The answer could be deadly. The appeal is obvious. AI is fast. It doesn't get tired. It can process thousands of data points in seconds. Hospitals use it to scan medical images. Banks use it to approve loans. Judges use it to assess criminal risk. Companies use it to decide who gets hired. When you remove the human, when you say the algorithm has spoken, case closed, you gain something that looks like efficiency, but you lose something far more valuable: accountability, judgment, the ability to catch what the machine missed. And that's where the danger begins. Because here's what AI systems don't do. They don't understand context the way humans do. They don't ask, does this answer make sense? They don't have intuition honed by years of experience. They don't feel the weight of their decisions. Consider a radiologist using AI to scan for tumors. The algorithm identifies a shadow on the X-ray and flags it as 90% probability of cancer. A human radiologist, one who spent 20 years reading thousands of images, looks at the same image and sees something different. They notice the patient's previous X-rays showed the same shadow, unchanged for 5 years. They know this particular hospital's equipment sometimes produces artifacts in exactly this location. The AI doesn't know any of that. It only knows what it was trained on. In criminal justice, algorithms have been used to predict who's likely to reoffend, but study after study has shown these systems perpetuate and amplify historical biases. They're trained on historical arrest data, data that reflects decades of discriminatory policing. Without a human judge willing to say this recommendation doesn't account for the full picture of this individual, an algorithm can lock someone up based on flawed logic built into its training data. A hiring algorithm rejects a qualified candidate because they have a gap in their resume. The AI doesn't know, can't know, that this person took time off to care for a dying parent. A human hiring manager would see that and think differently. Without that human in the middle, a good candidate disappears into a file that no one ever opens. Now imagine where this gets truly dangerous. Healthcare decisions made entirely without human review. A patient arrives at an emergency room. An AI system analyzes their symptoms, lab work, and medical history. It recommends a specific drug at a specific dose. But what the algorithm doesn't know, what it can't know, is that this particular patient has a rare genetic variation that makes them hypersensitive to this exact medication. The patient ends up in organ failure. Or consider autonomous vehicles. An AI system makes split-second decisions about when to brake, when to swerve, whether a pedestrian stepping into the street is a threat. These decisions happen faster than any human could make them. But they also happen without human judgment about the specific, unique circumstances unfolding on that particular street at that particular moment. In pharmaceutical supply chains, AI systems manage inventory and predict demand. Without human oversight, they might optimize purely for cost, cutting safety margins, creating shortages of critical medications, or prioritizing profitable drugs over life-saving ones. Imagine surgical robots performing delicate procedures with no surgeon standing by. The system is programmed to perform a specific operation. But what if something unexpected happens? What if the patient's anatomy is slightly different than anticipated? What if there's an equipment failure? Without a human in the middle, someone watching ready to intervene, responsible for what happens? The consequences aren't just mistakes, they can be deaths. Here's another danger people don't talk about. When you remove the human from the decision-making process, you create an accountability vacuum. If an AI system causes harm, who's responsible? The company that built it, the hospital that deployed it, the individual patient or victim? Everyone points to the algorithm. It wasn't me, the system decided. This diffusion of responsibility means no one feels personally accountable for what went wrong. Companies can hide behind the algorithm. They can claim they didn't know it was biased. They can say they followed the recommendation without independently verifying it. And because the algorithm's decision-making is often opaque, even to its creators, no one can fully explain why the harm occurred. Humans can be held accountable. Algorithms cannot. And when there's no human in the middle, accountability disappears. So what's the solution? It's not to reject AI. These tools have genuine power to help us to spot patterns we'd miss, to process information faster, to reduce pure computational error. The solution is to keep humans in the middle. A radiologist uses AI to help scan images but makes the final diagnosis. A judge uses risk assessment algorithms as one input among many, but retains the power to override the recommendation based on human judgment. A hiring manager uses AI screening to sort applications, but interviews candidates and makes the hiring decision themselves. A doctor reviews the medication recommendation the algorithm suggests and checks it against their knowledge of the specific patient's situation. The human doesn't disappear. They become more informed. They use AI as a tool, not as a replacement for their judgment. This requires something that pure automation promises to eliminate: time, attention, responsibility. It requires that someone, a real person, stand between the algorithm and the consequence, willing to say, "I checked this, I verified it, I'm accountable for it." We are drawn to the convenience of full automation, the seduction of a system that makes decisions without us, but there is no convenience worth a human life. There is no efficiency worth the erosion of accountability. The most dangerous words in AI deployment are these: the algorithm decided. The safest ones are, "I reviewed this, I'm responsible." Keep humans in the middle, not because they're always right, but because someone needs to be accountable when they're wrong.